Hey, all you mentees, this is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, and join me today for part 2 of the Thanos Marvel Cosmic Reading Order. So, let's get started. And welcome back, everybody. Now, before getting started, a huge thank you to our patrons for voting for this reading order. Every month, I put up a poll on our Patreon for our patrons to vote on, and I give them a couple of choices. For example, this week is between Superman reading order and the updated X-Men reading order. So far, X-Men is winning. If you want to take part of that, please don't forget to check the description of this video with a link to our Patreon. By the way, all of this is written down. I have a documentation that's available to our patrons. I think that starts at the $1 tier if you want to do it that way instead of doing it a visual way. So, this is part 2 of the Thanos reading order. What initially started as the Marvel Cosmic Reading Order turned into a Thanos Reading Order, because I decided to focus on his character as he plays such a big pivotal role in the cosmic universe. As I mentioned in part 1, really, the cosmic saga of Marvel started with Fantastic Four #1. But I'm making this about Thanos later on the channel. I'm sure I will have videos on Silver Surfer and Guardians of the Galaxy, so check our playlist and subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet. We put out videos every day. So let's go ahead and get started with the modern cosmic saga, and that is Annihilation. So this begins what is known as the modern cosmic saga. And I've done a video on all of these books, the modern cosmic saga. There's a total of 5 of them. If you want to check that out, click on the link above, because I'm mainly focusing on Annihilation and the Realm of the Kings, because this is where Thanos plays a big role. Believe it or not, he's not in all the books. Something happens in the pages of this book right here, Annihilation, that kind of takes him out of the next 3 books. But, of course, just like every time he does, he eventually comes back. But I did want to make sure that you knew that there was a total of 5 of these Omnis available. These are also available in trade paperback, in oversized hardcover format, in complete collection. So those are those big, thick trades, and we haven't seen a single picture of Thanos. Believe me, he's here. He's hanging around. Now, his main role in this saga is, of course, doing a lot of the behind-the-scenes scheming, which kind of works against him in this, because he's not the big bad of Annihilation. So there's someone else that's behind the scenes, and kind of Thanos gets to play second string to him. Now, if you've not read this, I will let you find out who that is, but this is where you'll find Thanos. He's in this Annihilation storyline, and again, when I said redemption kind of shows you exactly where some of these characters are going. Here's that little fairy that I was talking about. Death looks a lot different during these pages. Drax looks different. But I've gone into in-depth overviews of these books. If you want to check out, like I said, click on that reading order. Now, let's see where to go and find Thanos next. Completely optional, but She-Hulk Omnibus by Dan Slott. Particularly the 12th and 13th issues. And here is where it's the trial of Eros, Star Fox, who is his brother. But Thanos does show up in here. Now, this takes place before Annihilation, but it is written afterwards. That's why I decided to keep this as optional. Now, if you want to go back to the modern Marvel Cosmic Reading Order, you can follow the events of Annihilation Conquest, Road to War of the Kings, and War of the Kings. But this is all optional, because Thanos, I mean, there's a couple of flashbacks, but other than that, he really doesn't appear in these pages. But it does set up the event of his upcoming appearance, and that can be found in the pages of War of the Kings Aftermath, Realm of the Kings. Well, obviously because of this cover, but mainly there's this storyline in here called the Thanos Imperative, which is where Thanos makes a comeback, and he is taking out as many people as he can with him. That's what this storyline is about, and it's the ending of the DNA Cosmic Saga, Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning. This is where they end up just finishing up their run after years of being in the cosmic books with Guardians of the Galaxy, Nova, Annihilation, Annihilation Conquest, and War of the Kings. It all leads up to this event here. Now, during this event, there are certain things that happen, and a few characters get taken out. So, as I always mention, I try to stay away from spoilers whenever I do these reading orders, because I want people to be surprised, just like I was reading this stuff for the first time. But I am going to talk about some minor spoilers that, I mean, obviously the return of Thanos is a minor spoiler considering I am doing a reading order of his stories. And they take place during all these books that I've shown you. But let's keep going. Where we find Thanos next. Guardians of the Galaxy by Brian Michael Bendis. Available in trade paperbacks, oversized hardcovers, and in this omnibus. Now, this is after Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning end up leaving the books, and they give the books over to Brian Michael Bendis. That's who ends up heading the Guardians of the Galaxy now. And this Guardians of the Galaxy feels a lot more like the Guardians of the Galaxy from the movies. Even though the movies are based on the DNA run of Guardians of the Galaxy, the way that Star-Lord is read through these pages, the way that Gamora and Drax, I forgot about Bug there, the way they talk sounds more like the movie versions. But the reason I bring this up is because Thanos appears in the very pages of Avengers Assemble, which sets up the Bendis Guardians of the Galaxy run. And you will find that in oversized format. You will also find it in this omnibus and in trade paperback edition. Now, how he comes back, that's not explained until a little bit later. Now, there's crossovers with the X-Men, but the other important thing in this book is the original Sin crossover event, which shows how Thanos and a couple of the other characters that had disappeared during the Thanos Imperative got out of that little predicament they were in. This is the story that shows that what happened to them. Again, whether you agree with Brian Michael Bendis or not in how it happened, it still happened because now it's all canon. But that can also be found in the pages of this omnibus. Now, we're taking a break from Brian Michael Bendis' Guardians of the Galaxy to talk about the next book on the list. We have to talk about Deadpool Minibus. Remember when I said that one issue had something to do with something I was going to be talking about? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about the Deadpool and Thanos series. So, and here we go, found in the pages of the Deadpool Minibus Volume 3, Deadpool vs. Thanos Issue 1, and all the way to 4. So it's a 4-issue miniseries written by Tim Seeley. Elmo Bundock is the artist on this book. So it just shows the big fights between Thanos and Deadpool. Deadpool has a thing for death, and so does Thanos. Deadpool has picked a fight with Thanos, and that leads into this ridiculous in-canon event. Now, this next book can be literally read anytime. As a matter of fact, some of my viewers asked me why didn't I put it in part 1. Well, I think you have to get to know the character of Thanos first, by the way that Jim Starlin originally created him to be, and then the vision of DNA, to appreciate a backup story. So this is called Thanos Rising, and it is the origin of Thanos. This is all written by Jason Aaron, with artwork by Simone Bianchi. It's beautiful artwork. The story itself, some people agree that it's like a Starlin story, but others do not. I'm in the category that, yeah, it doesn't really feel like what Starlin had in mind. So Jason Aaron was given the permissions to go ahead and write a Thanos origin, and he did the best he could. It's kind of weird. There are elements of some Jim Starlin stories in here, but for the most part, it just feels like a fanfic. Now, I normally don't say that when I talk about reading orders. I let the viewers decide for themselves. However, I have to mention that because some people might be confused as to whether these events really happen or not. So things that happen in here do have some retcons. So they've gone back and rewritten some of the history for Thanos. But like I mentioned, beautiful, wonderful artwork by Simone Bianchi. And yes, this is the origin of Thanos. And it can be found in trade paperback format. I think there was an oversized hardcover format of this, and in the standard edition hardcover, and then this Marvel Select hardcover. Which leads into the final Brian Michael Bendis Guardians of the Galaxy volume. This is the 5th hardcover of Guardians of the Galaxy, oversized. Again, also available in trade paperback format. And this contains the final issue that just shows Thanos showing up rather randomly, if you will. Looking more like his movie counterpart up there in space, just floating around on this magical chair. And then, yes, more like the movie Thanos than any other Thanos. And then in the Guardians of the Galaxy, you have to take him out. So that's why I require this the next place to be, because this sets Bendis off after writing Guardians of the Galaxy, and we have Thanos showing up here. Now, I figured you go ahead and read that before jumping on to the big book called Avengers by Jonathan Hickman, or aka Hickvengers, which has a storyline in here that introduces us to the Black Order. And I'm sure some of you all are wondering, what? This is the first appearance of the Black Order? Yeah, it is. All those characters that showed up in the Infinity War movie and Endgame, they were all created by Jonathan Hickman. With the exception of course, the Avengers and Thanos. But they all appeared here for the first time. Like, we're just led to believe that Thanos has always had this Black Order, which is cool because it kind of works. And him and his minions show up during the event called Infinity. So it's a big crossover between the pages of New Avengers, and then the miniseries called Infinity, which again shows the Black Order come to Earth, try to take out the Avengers, and then Thanos eventually come down himself and fight the Avengers. Now, there's something else that's important in here, and that is the introduction of a character named Thane. And Thane has ties to Thanos. Thanos. I'll let you figure out who that is. Now, Thane, I don't think he plays an important role anymore, but I'll talk a little bit about where he ends up going. And there's your Black Order. There are 5 of them instead of 4, like in the movies. But all of this drawn by Lionel Francis Yu, Mike Deodato Jr., and also, I believe Mike Perkins draws some of this stuff. But this takes us to the next event. But before we go anywhere, you all know I love sneaking books in. So here is Nova, Rookie Season. This is Volume 2 of the Sam Alexander Nova series. And it's really this issues right here that cross over with Infinity that shows Thanos sending out some of his Black Order to take out this new Nova. Because if y'all remember the big fights with Nova and Thanos during the Annihilation storyline, Thanos kind of is worried about the Nova power being held by some kid. So he sends some of his Black Order to Earth to go and fight him. So he does make an appearance here. I just wanted to throw that in there for you all. And Thanos isn't done. Now, you may think he's done after the events of Infinity and what ends up happening to him, very similar to what happened to him during the original run of Captain Marvel. But he's not done. The Avengers need his help, and they need to bring him back. So this is where he comes back. This is Hickvengers Volume 2, and there's a particular storyline called Time Runs Out, which he kind of plays a bigger role in. So if you love those storylines where the bad guys and the good guys team up, well, look no further than this, because that's exactly what happened. They need his help. They need the Black Order's help. So Thanos is back, along with Thane. Thane does come back. Now, I didn't add any stories in here, like his one-panel appearance in the Legendary Star-Lord Volume 1. I mainly stuck to stories that were canon and just impacted the overall experience of this reading order. So that's why you may see a book or 2 missing from here, just because it had an appearance of him, or even a goofy, non-canon appearance. But I believe these are the ones that are important. Oh, and there is another book that is optional here, and that is the Thanos, A God Up There Listening, which collects the 4-issue miniseries and annual number 1, which you will see later collected somewhere else. But that primarily focuses on Thane, and that is why I left it out of the reading order. But it is optional. And all of this, Hickvengers, Fantastic Four, Secret Warriors, S.H.I.E.L.D., all of that has been leading to one event. Secret Wars. This is the new Secret Wars. And Thanos makes an appearance throughout this main event. And something ends up happening to him through this event, where he's kind of taken out of the picture for a little while. But this is the event that all of Jonathan Hickman's stories had been leading up to, with the exception of his X-Men run, of course. That's why we think something huge is happening in X-Men. But this is a really fun story with alternate dimensions, and then who is behind the scenes. You can see that for yourself. And it's got beautiful artwork by Esad Ribic. Not to be confused with Secret Wars, the 1980s series, or the follow-up Secret Wars, or Secret War by Bendis. Secret Wars by Jonathan Hickman. Available in oversized hardcover and in trade paperback. and not part of an omnibus, so keep that in mind. At this moment, I just want to remind you all to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. We put out videos every day. Now, what happened to Jim Starlin? What happened to Thanos' daddy, his creator? Well, he literally was given free range to do whatever he wanted to in a series of original graphic novels and an annual and some miniseries, and that is found in this omnibus that I've done an overview of. This is the Infinity Saga. Now, some people say this is out of continuity, some argue that it is in continuity, and honestly, to me, this is the best place to read it, because this does take place after the events of the DNA Cosmic Saga, and it primarily focuses on Thanos, and it's some retconning of like going back and looking at issues of Captain Marvel or Avengers when he ran into them. Honestly, a lot of these stories feel like canon, but it feels like this is what Jim Starlin wanted to do with an ongoing series. Sadly, he wasn't given an ongoing series. They ended up giving that to someone else, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. They didn't let him write a Thanos origin, and I say let him. I don't know whatever happened behind the scenes, but he did get to write this particular set of events, these stories that are all collected in this omnibus. They've also been collected in hardcover formats, single graphic novel formats, which they come out in hardcover and in trade paperback. But to own it all and in reading order, the best way to do it is to get it in this omnibus right here. There are a couple of things that happen here that take place during like Guardians of the Galaxy by Brian Michael Bendis, take place during like Jerry Duggan stuff. So I think to me this is the best place to read it, just so you don't get lost in what's happening between Secret Wars and the next event. But you know, some people will tell you to read this before Infinity, some people will tell you to read this right after the DNA Cosmic Saga. I think to me, and again this is just my list, this is the best place to read this and experience this book. Civil War 2 is the next event that you will see where Thanos plays a big prime, like, I don't want to say he's the most important role out of this, because this mainly focuses on the fight between superheroes, much like the original Civil War. But the reason they are fighting are because of some of the things that he is doing or will do, because this is about a possible future where things might happen. So this literally is a beatdown session of Thanos just coming in and beating the crap out of the Ultimates. And then eventually the Avengers. They play a big role in this. So it's hero versus hero. There's a couple of characters that die. A couple of them have already come back, but I will let you find out who lives, who dies. This is all written by Brian Michael Bendis. Got artwork in here by Jimmy Chung, Oliver Coppel, and also David Marquez, who have all worked with Bendis in the past. But the main thing about this is, yes, this possible future, whether it's going to happen or not, and Thanos plays a big part in that. Now, I mentioned the Ultimates earlier, which is why I'm going to sneak in another book, like I normally love sneaking in, and that is found in the pages of Ultimates Omniversal Volume 2, Civil War 2. This is Al Ewing and Kenneth Rocafort. All of this also available in complete collection, but there is a trade paperback just called Omniversal Volume 2 that has been available for a while. Finally, after decades, Thanos gets his own ongoing series, kicked off by the talents of Jeff Lemire and artwork by Mike Deodato Jr. with Frank Martin on colors. So this is after the events of Infinity, it's after the events of Civil War 2, and Thanos is just, well, he's older. He's a lot older, and he's dying, and he wants to dominate again. He wants to be on top, which is kind of weird for him, because I didn't think he cared about things like that. We also have this new order of Star Fox, Trico Slavering, is that his name? Trico Slatteris, that's it. He was a character that appeared in the 80s. Corpus Glaive is now taking over this sector, and Thanos is like, no, I want it back. Thought that was kind of weird. I didn't think he cared about things like that. But here we are, and then Star Fox is also joined by Thane and Death, who's now in love with Thane during this arc, as well as Nebula. So they all team up to take down Thanos. And of course, things don't go right, and Thane kind of becomes overpowered. And Thanos is brutal during this time. Even though he's dying and old, and he wants to have all this power, there's a huge fight, yes, right here with the Shi'ar Imperial Guard. He just takes down people left and right. He's so ruthless. He reminds you of what kind of a badass he is. This is only available in trade paperback, which I found interesting because Donny Cates' Thanos run got an oversized hardcover treatment. But this is the first 6 issues that leads into the God Quarry. And as I mentioned, the God Quarry is a follow-up to Thanos Returns. And this is where Thane is all overpowered, and he's coming after Thanos. Now, Mike Deodato Jr. is not drawing this anymore. Now it is all done by Germán Peralta. Jeff Lemire wraps up his run. And we still have this team-up of Star Fox, Nebula, and Trico. And as I mentioned, Thane is now overpowered, so they have to go and ask Thanos for help. And he teams up with not just them, but also the Avengers to take down Thane. And this is kind of the last time we see Thane for a while. Now, where they go from here? Well, that leads into Donny Cates' run. And that can be found in an oversized hardcover format or in the pages of the Marvel Cosmic Universe by Donny Cates, as well as a trade paperback. But the important thing to read here, and this is what kicks it off, is the Thanos Wins storyline, which introduces us to the character of Cosmic Ghost Rider, and then shows an older Thanos after he has defeated the entire Marvel Universe. There are time travel elements here, but it is really important to read this, as this is the follow-up to Jeff Lemire's run. And I always thought it was strange that this got an oversized hardcover format while Lemire's got 2 trade paperbacks. But hey, I don't make the rules. I just make the reading orders. And here you will find Thanos again. This, by the way, is drawn by Jeff Shaw and written by Donny Cates. 2 of them have worked together for many years, including with in the wonderful God Country story that I've gone on and on about. Now, you want to keep reading past the Thanos book. Now, you want to keep reading past the Thanos Legacy and the annual #1, because there's a miniseries, Cosmic Ghost Rider, in here, and it's really important because the whole role of Cosmic Ghost Rider is to go back and have dealings with a baby Thanos. So I will let you find out all this storyline, who Cosmic Ghost Rider is, by reading this particular book. Now, while the main book is completely necessary, this is completely optional. This is Guardians of the Galaxy by Jerry Duggan Omnibus, but it does lead into the Infinity Wars. All this does is set up our new status quo of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but I figured I'd throw it in here for you all that want a complete experience. And leading into Infinity Wars, this is where Jerry Duggan gets to wrap up that storyline, where each of these Marvel superheroes, they go back to the Infinity Gems, is holding an Infinity Gem, and it's up to them to keep it away from the evil forces that want the Infinity Gems. And of course, this involves Thanos, primarily in the Infinity Wars Prime storyline, as well as the Thanos Legacy one-shot that is collected in here in these very pages. So, now, something does happen here, again, because something is always happening with Thanos, but he is, again, taken out of the picture. So I do have to mention that. It's a small spoiler. I'm not going to tell you if he's dead, or if he's retiring, if he's living in Florida, if he's just drinking alcohol off the beach, or eating Anyway, what the hell was I? Yes, he is taken out of the picture during this event, which is why in the pages of Donny Cates' Guardians of the Galaxy, there is a ceremony at the very beginning. So, a little bit of a spoiler here in case you care about spoilers. In case you don't care about spoilers, hey, don't forget to leave that like button regardless. Here we have the funeral of Thanos, and it's all led by Star Fox, talking about who killed Thanos, and I'll let you figure out how that all happened, but it's his will, his legacy, what he's leaving behind. And pretty much it impacts a lot of these characters from the Guardians of the Galaxy and what it means for them. And I really enjoyed the storyline. Like, I have done a review of it. My wife has done a review of it. So if you want to check that out on the channel, you can check out the comic review playlist for that. But this is where you'll find Thanos again. And how he comes back, or if he comes back, well, I'll leave you to find that out. Now, after this, there's a mini-series called The Thanos Zero Sanctuary. This one is written by Tini Howard, and it's drawn by one of my favorite artists, Ariel Olivetti, who has this very unique, almost, I want to say like Doom or Unreal Tournament type of art. And I've never seen his art look like this, so this is pretty different. So the colors look like actual comic book colors, and they're not using that CG colors that they use for like his Punisher War Journal, for example. So I find it pretty unique that they went that route with his artwork, because the colors are not done by him, they're done by Antonio Fabela. So this particular 6-issue miniseries is pretty interesting, because it really, even though it's called Thanos Zero Sanctuary, it's more about his relationship with Gamora. As a matter of fact, there's actually more Gamora in here, like a young kid Gamora in here, than actual Thanos. And it's about their relationship together. And there are some retcon elements in here, and for the most part, you know, it was pretty interesting. A lot of different cameos by different characters. Some I will keep from spoiling, but as well as him maybe not popping up in the new Eternals ongoing series by Kieran Gillen and Izad Ribic. But that's it. That is the reading order. And that, as they say, is that. Some of these books are still available from our sponsor, CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online source for collected editions up to 50% off retail price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself on excellent packaging, so your stuff gets to you in excellent condition, and they have amazing customer service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And for all you Minties that are watching, if you're a first-time customer, don't forget to mention that Near Mint Condition sent you their way for a promotional credit on free shipping on your next order. Now, this is only for U.S. customers. CheapGraphicNovels.com, your source for the hottest books with deep discounts, customer service, and excellent shipping that will keep you coming back for more. And that was part 2 of the Thanos Marvel Cosmic Reading Order. Let me know in the comments down below if I left anything out or what you would have added. Again, if you want to take part in voting on the reading order polls, that information is in the description below with the link to our Patreon. Again, thank you so much to our patrons for voting for this. This was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button. More importantly, all of you, stay healthy, stay safe, and much love.